put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning. Good morning and welcome to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television. It is Friday, the 11th day of April 2025, and we're coming to you live from the Port Mall here in Scarborough, Tobago. I am Adana Kambi. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it.
Good morning, and my name is Akinlabi Holder, and we're on the final working day of the week, and we know many of us are looking forward to that rest and relaxation that the weekend brings, Adana.
That's right, and we're heading into the week of Easter. As we come out of the weekend, we're heading straight into that long weekend week. You know, we just had a long weekend the other day, and we're heading into another one when we come back out on Monday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then you have Holy Thursday. I wonder how many persons actually still observe the significance of all of these days. You know, you have Holy Thursday, then you have Good Friday, and then you have Glorious Saturday, and then, so do we really still... from your experience or interaction, do you really
I don't think people celebrate it as much anymore. I don't think they commemorate it as much anymore. I remember when I was younger, we used to go to church every single day of the week and that week leading up to Easter. But I don't think people really take that into consideration, it's in their mind, you know. They become so busy with life that they're not really taking that time out to do these kinds of things anymore.
And I feel also as if Easter has become very, very commercialized.
Yes.
So people are looking at the activities, they're looking at the outfit for this event and that event. So I feel that's where that is now. But you know, we're going to be celebrating Easter come next week, and I hope you have your pretty dandan for church and for whatever other events, and I do hope that whatever you do, you can enjoy. But before we get into all of those conversations, here's your news in 90 seconds. Near 18,000 students across Trinidad and Tobago successfully sat the SEA exam on Thursday without any reported issues, according to the Ministry of Education. The exam was held at 547 centers nationwide with 17,937 registered candidates and 1,006 in Tobago. Students unable to sit the exam due to illness or emergencies will have a second opportunity on May 8th. Support was provided for 436 students with special education needs. Education Minister Dr. Nayan Gaspidoli credited the smooth execution to collaborating among teachers, staff, and national agencies. Results are expected in early July via the SEA portal. Meanwhile, the Division of Education, Research and Technology refuted claims made by a viral video by the PNM Tobago West candidate, Shamfa Kajol-Lewis, that the SEA exams in Tobago were delayed due to missing clocks. The division confirmed all 40 centers started on time with proper equipment and accommodations for students with special concessions. The division noted that trained invigilators were equipped with timekeeping devices and that all protocols were strictly followed after a comprehensive training session for the SCA personnel on April 3rd. It further assured the public that students with approved special accommodations, such as extra time, began their exams in alignment with the national schedule and were closely supervised to maintain exam integrity. And finally, the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Agency, THTA, has elected a new board led by Reginald McLean as president following its AGM on April 8th at the Mount Irving Bay Resort. Key goals include refinancing TTAL, repealing the Foreign Investment Act, allocating 3% of the room tax for marketing, and boosting airlift. The board, serving until 2027, aims to tackle critical tourism challenges and is urging public support to strengthen the sector. And that was your news in 90 seconds. Akinlabi. So, yesterday was SCA. We saw in the Tobago instance, 1,006 students, as we spoke about, sat the exam. I think 551 of them were boys, and so we've seen the ratio. And although it's still kind of close, we've seen more boys than girls there sitting the exam. And of course, we saw the viral video. I'm sure you saw it, and the comments that came from the video that the Shamfa Kajo, the Minister of Sports, that's right, Sports. She made that remark yesterday, stating that parents contacted her with the children with special needs who needed the timekeeping device to ensure, and there weren't any clocks, and it was a big deal. And of course, we saw now where the Division of Education came forward, refuting the claim, stating that there were no reports of delays reported to the channel that is responsible. So, you're kind of trying to figure out, what really happened there.
And the thing about these kinds of situations is that more than one thing can be true. It could be that there probably was a hiccup in some centers that was rectified, and because it was rectified, it wasn't reported. So it could be that persons reached out to the minister or the MP to complain, and at the same time, those complaints never reached to the division for them to be aware that such things happened. So it could be that these more than one thing could be true at the same time, but once everything was sorted out and the students got the necessary equipment they needed to write their exams, I think that we should just leave that matter there.
That's right. And at the end of the day, once the children are adequately accommodated, once they are comfortable, and you don't really want to create a situation where they feel nervous or they feel uneasy. So once there were no reported delays through the official reporting channels, then there isn't really anything that could be done per se. However, I always believe that systems can always be improved. Systems can always be tightened. You could always, assess after. They call it post-mortem. I don't like to use the term post-mortem because it's kind of morbid, but you can do your assessment after a situation to see, well, where can I improve? What were my strengths, my weaknesses, and stuff like that? So I leave room for that. I do indeed leave room for that as well. But, needless to say, the children had fun. I know there are different agencies that offer different types of deals, whether it's ice cream, whether it was a donut box, whether it is a movie.
And it can be very relieved now. It's time for them to relax until September again.
I know, even one of the students that we know quite closely here, this morning, the parent was saying to me, I could watch TV now. I could ride my bike all day, and it's such a relief for these young children. I mean, they're 10, 11, some of them 12, and carrying the weight of, oh gosh,
I need to pass this exam. I need to pass this
exam. Yeah.
So I'm very happy for them that they get this time to relax and they could really, for more or less, kind of be a child again, They could be a child again.
Because, moving into that phase, come July, come the mid-July, mid or end July, when they get those results, it's grinding again, So, let them enjoy. Parents, allow the children to enjoy the vacation period. Even when they go back to school and they go back into Standard 5, they kind of start preparing them for how secondary school
will be. But it's not as heavy.
Rigid,
not as rigid as before, Sometimes they might introduce them to foreign language or some mathematical concepts that they will be learning in secondary school. That kind of thing. At least that's what happened with me. But it was never really very heavy school,
Right.
you know.
It was just to get acquainted with what is
Yes,
going to happen
yes.
there. Well, you know, we continue to wish all the best to all of our students and parents as well. I know you are also relieved, and teachers, we say congratulations to you for preparing our children and getting them ready to enter that new phase of their lives. But guess what we have to do? It's my favorite time of the morning. It's that time where we say happy birthday to those who are celebrating. It's time for our birthday shout-outs.
We start off with Mr. Kevin O'Neill. Happy birthday to you, Mr. O'Neill. We wish you God's richest blessings. We know today is your special day. We know your loved ones have something very special planned for you. Maybe a nice brunch, a fantastic dinner, a nice cologne or something, a nice golden watch or something. They'll fix you up nice. And we wish you happy birthday, God's richest blessings to you, and we wish you the best in your upcoming year.
And I'm sure if you know Kevin at all, I'm thinking that they're probably decorating something. There must be some big bram. If you know that family at all,
Yes.
you know they're doing something very special. So happy birthday to you, Kevin. This is JSL Boris Vincent, my home girl, my cousin, in fact, and my very good friend. You know, you have those cousins who are actually friends as well. And JSL, I want to wish you a very happy birthday. I pray God's blessings upon your life. A very, what can I call her? A gentle giant. You know, she's a giant in her own right and gentle in every way, giving, loving, helpful, you know, always know how to crack a laugh. And I do hope that you have a wonderful birthday today, my darling. And I know that your weekend will be well spent. And this is a message for your family. Hint, hint. I hope you're all doing something real fancy. And give me a call. I'm available. But of course, I really do want you to have an awesome birthday, because you do deserve it. So happy birthday to you.
And we have a very special birthday. This birthday shout-outs go to Mr. Eman Philip Legol. And Mr. Eman Philip Legol will be 99 years old on Sunday. And his family has a very special thing they want us to read out here. And a very special happy birthday to our dad, Mr. Eman Philip Legol. Sunday he celebrates his 99 golden years. We celebrate him on this remarkable day of life well lived. A man of great wisdom and strength. May the good Lord shower him with long life, peace of mind, love, and happiness. Mr. Eman Philip Legol is the lone veteran on the island of Tobago who fought in World War II back in 1945. The icon of Lekoto Village was also the former choir master of both the Lekoto Anglican Church and the Franklin Methodist Church. Our fellow villager, our mentor, our father and grandfather, great-grandfather, our rock. Cheers to you, Mr. Eman Philip Legol. Only one more year to meet that golden 100. Blessings upon you, and we celebrate you with all goodness from above. May the Lord bless and keep you from all harm, and let the light continue to shine. Amen, amen. Love and blessings. Happy birthday to you, Mr. Eman Philip Legol. 99 years is a lot.
99 years, and a veteran, you know, and so of course a special birthday, and it's somebody that we're hoping to have conversations with here in studio. You know, every time we do that conversation with Remembrance Day, his name comes up. And so, you know, we celebrate with you today, and we celebrate with all of you who are celebrating as well, whether it's a birthday, an anniversary, something that you have achieved. Even the students from yesterday, we celebrate with all of you as you enter that time of celebration. But we remind you to put God first, because he is the sole reason why there's even anything to celebrate. Akinlabi, who are we having conversations with this morning in studio?
This morning we're having conversations with Mr. Demi John Cruikshank, former head of the Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and he's talking about the new Sandals discussions. We also have on Mr. Josiah Leacock, a committee member, and he's going to talk about the Nutsy Fast 5. And finally, we're going to have artist and owner of the art gallery, Mr. Martin Superville, and he's coming on to speak about Tobago Fashion Coda 7.
That's right. That's right. You know, Fashion Coda is coming up shortly. So, of course,
Yes.
you're going to be hearing conversations
Next
as
week,
often as
Friday.
possible right here on Tobago Updates Television. We do have a lovely, lovely rundown for you this morning, and we hope that you could stay with us throughout the entire discussions this morning. Of course, remember, you can leave your comments on our Facebook and YouTube live streams. And for those of you who are viewing us on Flow 102 and on AMPLIA 102, sorry, and Flow 121 and 130, we welcome you this morning. We say thank you so much for choosing us. You are the reason why we are number one. And we always look forward to bringing the conversations to you, and we want you to be a part of it. So remember to always leave your comments. And as we go for this short break, before we begin conversations in studio, what we're going to ask you to do? Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Are you in a dispute with a registered investment service provider of the TTSEC? Or maybe you're the victim of an investment scam? You can lodge a complaint or submit an anonymous tip to the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission. Download our Investor Protection app or go to ttsec.org.tt to access our complaint form or submit an anonymous tip. Write a clear summary of your complaint. Submit copies of supporting documents along with the originals for verification. Provide a copy of the feedback received from the entity regarding your complaint. All investor complaints or scam reports submitted by the public are acknowledged and reviewed by the TTSEC. Investigations are pursued based on the outcome of the review. Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission, protecting the interests of investors and the public. You invest. We protect. Everyone benefits.
The following is a paid political advertisement.
To the men of Tobago West, your strength, resilience, leadership, and wisdom are the backbone of our community. I intend to remain right there with you, providing the environment and support that you need to be better fathers, better brothers, better leaders, and mentor. Whether it's through training, jobs, or education, I intend to provide the necessary support so that we can build stronger, more resilient communities together. I am Shamfa Kojo Lewis, your People's National Movement candidate for Tobago West. All in for Tobago, all in for TNT.
That was a paid political advertisement.
TNTech is pleased to advise that its Roxborough Service Center has reopened. Starting Monday, 10th March, customers can once more visit the Roxborough Administrative Building to pay TNTech bills, request new connections, and more. TNTech, powering the nation into the next generation.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. We begin conversations this morning in studio, and we speak with Mr. Demi John Cruikshank, the former head of Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and we're talking about If you are living in Tobago, from Tobago, have any interest in Tobago, been having discussions about Tobago, you would know that there was a recent discussion about the Sandals, the possibility of the Sandals brand returning to Tobago. And so we're going to have that conversation this morning. Good morning, Mr. Cruikshank, and welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Yeah, morning, Akalabi. Tell me.
So it's a pleasure having you in studio this morning and to have this very, very important conversation. I mean, most persons who have any interest in Tobago, they know the history of the relationship with the Sandals, the conversations that happen, the failure, if I can call it that, in the past with the first attempt of bringing the Sandals to Tobago, the voices that were raised, the social media, all the things that happened in that space. And now here we are again, another opportunity presenting itself where it is a possibility for the Sandals brand to come to Tobago. For you, what does this mean for you?
Well, good morning, everybody. As we indicated in the meeting, when we had the meeting at the Prime Minister's residence, this would have been the third time, actually, Sandals attempting to come to Tobago. First time would have been with Lawrence Dupree and Butch Stewart, and then we had in 2017, 2019, and we all know in Tobago what happened with that in terms of the Tobagonians rejected Sandals. Now we have another attempt, another and final attempt at having Sandals here. What it would mean to Tobago is, and not just me, it would mean getting the tourism product started once and for all. We have what it takes in Tobago to have an excellent product, but we do not have the know-how, we do not have the connectivity in terms of the airlift, we do not have the branded hotels to push Tobago. In 2009, 2008, we would have had the Hilton brand in Tobago, and we would have seen what happened to the economy of Tobago with just that little hotel, which is now called the Magdalena. So it seemed like it's a 20-year cycle in Tobago. Everything is if you look at Tobago, it's just a 20-year cycle. So if we say yes to Sandals today, it will take us about 4 to 5 years, literally, to open the doors of Sandals, right? So that will push us to 2019. So 2029. So 2009 to 2029 is another 20-year cycle. So it seems like everything happens in Tobago in a 20-year cycle. It is exciting. It is the possibilities of what can happen to Tobago is enormous. The private sector, we never give up, and I will just tell you some information out of school. We've been going behind Sandals from the private sector since they left in 2019. We never stopped talking to the Sandals people. We always said, listen, we want you to come back. Even last year, April, I went to Grenada, and I met with Adam, and I said, listen, come back to Tobago now. He said, it's not on the cards right now, but we would see. Alpha Lord, who was the president of the Hotel Association at the time, went to Jamaica just after I came back and said, listen, and sat down with him and said, listen, we want you to come back to Tobago. Forget about what happened. And it was a pleasure when we heard the Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley, and then Stuart Young picked it up and said, we will bring back Sandals to Tobago. And some people, what we need to do first is to find out from Tobago. And as I said on another news media yesterday, the first thing first we have to do before we invite Sandals back into the room, because Sandals has not told us if they're going to come or not. What the meeting was really and truly was just to say, we apologize for what happened. Let's wipe the slate clean, and please reconsider to come into Tobago. They said, okay, they will look at it, and then they will give us an answer after post the election. So it's not to say that Sandals is on the table as yet. And what we will look at in terms of if Sandals choose to come back, what has to happen is there has to be a series of meetings in Tobago. Listen, we have to have the Tobagonians involved this time in the whole episode of Sandals coming, because one, we don't know where they're going to go. the cards is clean. They have to look at new sites. We're not too sure if the Boko site would be thing, because people would be saying yes, people would be saying no. So I would applaud the Tobago House of Assembly and the Chief Secretary to do some work, do some consultation before Mr. Stewart comes back into the room, because I don't want the man to come here and then you have a whole uproar that we don't want Sandals again. Let us find out if Tobago wants this before they return, and then we move to the next stage. And that's where we are.
Mr. Cruikshank, the last time that Sandals was here, one of the issues that resulted in them leaving was the nature of the conversation around Sandals. This time around, do you feel as though the nature of the conversations, the disposition of the persons in the room and those with influence, you think that they're taking a different approach to discussing the issue this time around?
Let me tell you something. When I was in that room, the Prime Minister said, "Let me ain't saying anything." And I said, "No, Prime Minister, I ain't saying anything yet." You know why? I was proud to be a Tobagonian. When I tell you proud, to see everybody, big men, big women, sit around a table, and we had a mature discussion, and it was about Tobago. It had nothing to do with PDP, TPP, PNM, nothing like that. Everybody sat down around the room in a cordial manner, and we discussed the issue of getting Sandals back into Tobago. And I was proud about that. What really and truly we really have to have is the buy-in of the population. You could do what you want. If Tobago say they don't want Sandals, the Chief Secretary could say it, the Mr. Ansel Dennis could say it, Watson Yu could say it. If Tobago say they don't want Sandals, they will have a unwelcome feeling in Tobago. So you have to sit down with all the entities. It was excellent that the Prime Minister decided to invite all the stakeholders up front and say, listen, it's a clean slate. We're going to be open and transparent in this procedure. Gentlemen in the room, can I have your assurance that going forward we will have your presence here when we meet with the Sandals? So at least the people, because one of the most vocal voice in the room was Mr. Murray from the Farmers Association in Goldsboro. And Mr. Murray come out and he was a shock. Let me find out something. The Chief Secretary said if you're bringing your money to the table. And automatically Adam's response was, I have 14 hotels. We have 13 hotels owned by Sandals. One is owned by the Guardian Group, which his father and Dupree would have built, or would have Dupree built it and then Sandals managed it. And he said, that is not this model that I really want. I want to build my hotel. So out of the starting gates, we had that clear, because there's a lot of Tobago, oh, the government building a hotel and Sandals will leave. The man said, here, well, my model, we are building 5 hotels right now, 14 on our plate, 13 belongs to us, the next 5 will belong to us, and there's no difference that will happen in Tobago. I want to build my hotel, but bottom of the time. So that put the fear of, because people going around with all kind of information.
And the thing about it is talking about the sharing of the profits coming from coming from the hotel, and that is the primary concern. And you are right in terms of consultation is very important, because once a person does not have information, then they're left to speculation. So how, in terms of, yes, we want to determine where the Sandals is going to go, you want to know if Tobagonians want it, how in-depth do you think the consultations need to happen in terms of ensuring that measure of transparency, and that the average Tobagonian understands what this deal and the relationship would be like for Tobago?
Well, remember, there's no deal as yet. There's nothing.
Well, the conversation, how it's going to be presented.
The conversation should go from the Tobago House of Assembly. And the Tobago House of Assembly should lead the discussions to the people of Tobago. The central government is the one who is bringing Sandals. And from the meeting is that the Prime Minister said, here, well, this is a Tobago thing. Or they want this, or they don't want it. If all they don't want it, let me tell the man to leave, right? So the consultation should really and truly, Tobagonians should understand what they getting themselves into and what they think. I'm hearing the president of the Fisher Folk and Mr. Duke was talking about the profit sharing and how the Bend community. And yes, Sandals presented, I don't know if they were in the room or when they left, But they said point blank, we invest in the communities. And they showed the statistics. They showed, listen, we adopt communities, we help people, we buy school bags, we buy school books. So yes, the profit sharing helps in the community. There's a lot of discussion. This is just
preliminary.
This is extremely preliminary. We're not even sure if the people will say yes. So maybe the people come back and say no tomorrow. What we need is a branded hotel that can bring the airlift to Tobago. That is what we really need. We have a brand new airport, and you don't want that to be a white elephant. You need the planes to come. You need the tourism product to get on, because you've seen what is happening with the Dragon. You see what's happening in Trinidad in terms of oil and gas. Tomorrow, the budget drops to $40 billion. Let me just put that as an example. If it dropped to $40 billion, what it means to Tobago? It means that the THA on a 4.03% of the national budget ends up with about $1.8 billion. The Tobagos are certainly spending about $2 billion in recurrent in terms of paying salaries. You know how much people will go home in Tobago? So it is important that we look at different avenues. And I would say to all Tobagonians today, try to contact Sandals, find out what their salaries are. If I am
do the
proactive,
research.
do the research. Don't wait on nobody to come and tell you nothing. Call Sandals, because you might surprise. When Sandals land here, the exodus from the Tobago House of Assembly, because of the wage packages, you will see a serious turnaround in Tobago. And whilst we were in the room, the amount of hoteliers outside of Tobago and investors texting people phone, tell me what is the story. Sandals coming because this deal hinges on if we will have investment or not. And you don't want to go into a position when nobody is coming at the end of the day. Because Diane had said it in the meeting. She and I think Shamfa Kojo went to Chico's, and people were passing them straight because Tobago is not attractive to anybody. With the Sandals brand coming here, we will get the airlift, because what the statistics they gave for St. Vincent is they were just in a similar position like us. 2 international flights weekly. Now, St. Vincent is up to 19 international flights weekly. And they actually were just signing on, I think was JetBlue or somebody else was adding on additional flights. What the power that Sandals does is the marketing and the airlift. So people like Tital had to pay British Airways and Virgin to fly to Tobago. That would be a thing on the past. Tital could take their money and do something else with that, because automatically the airlines will come. And that is what we need, and that is what we need. So, Tobagonians, get ready.
That's
because
right.
what coming, the farmers, the maxi taxi, the everything is going to, the ripple effect that's going to happen in Tobago is that it's going to resound success for Tobago.
And it's very, very important, and I want to piggyback on what Mr. Cruikshank is saying. Get in the know, do the research, not just about the salaries, but do the research in terms of the effect and the impact that a brand like the Sandals coming to Tobago will have on the economy of Tobago and all the different industries, the vendors, the suppliers that will be impacted, the economy itself, the improvement on the economy. Get yourself prepared, get yourself ready. You know, all you service providers, learn what you have to learn the lingo, learn the demands, and get yourself ready just in case they come. Find yourself ready and waiting for this golden opportunity. Mr. Cruikshank, thank you so much for being on our show this morning.
You know, I just want to tell Tobagonians, as you just said, get yourself ready and don't sit down and wait, because trust me, you have a 1.4 million population in Trinidad. They are citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And you don't want all the opportunities coming to Tobago and then everybody, except the Tobagonians, benefiting from the Sandals. And that's all I have to say to Tobago.
A word to the wise, as my grandparents used to say, a word to the wise is sufficient. So get your house in order. When the opportunity comes, let it find you ready and waiting. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to go for a short break before we continue conversations here in studio. And as we go, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
TNTech is pleased to advise that its Roxborough Service Centre has reopened. Starting Monday, 10th March, customers can once more visit the Roxborough Administrative Building to pay TNTech bills, request new connections, and more. TNTech, powering the nation into the next generation.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With AMPLIA TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores, and stats with AMPLIA's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 gigabyte fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games, and much more. With AMPLIA, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. AMPLIA. Do more, live more.
The following is a paid political advertisement.
I've had the pleasure and privilege of building beautiful collaborative relationships with civil society organizations and with various faith-based organizations. And I'm asking you, if you've been on this journey with me, to continue this journey. And if you weren't on this journey with me before, I'm asking you to join the movement. There's a lot of work to be done in Trinidad and Tobago. We've started the work and have been doing meaningful work with you. And I'm asking for all of civil society, all of faith-based organizations to be all in with Team PNM. We have work to do. We have the ability to get it done, but we need you to join us on this movement. On election day, place your confidence and your vote in the team that has Trinidad and Tobago at heart and the team that's willing to work with all sectors to transform our society.
That was a paid political advertisement.
Are you in a dispute with a registered investment service provider of the TTSEC? Or maybe you're the victim of an investment scam? You can lodge a complaint or submit an anonymous tip to the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission. Download our Investor Protection app or go to ttsec.org.tt to access our complaint form or submit an anonymous tip. Write a clear summary of your complaint. Submit copies of supporting documents along with the originals for verification. Provide a copy of the feedback received from the entity regarding your complaint. All investor complaints or scam reports submitted by the public are acknowledged and reviewed by the TTSEC. Investigations are pursued based on the outcome of the review. Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission, protecting the interests of investors and the public. You invest, we protect. Everyone benefits.
Welcome to the launch of Tobago Fashion Coda 7. We are so happy to be here.
The following is a paid political advertisement.
The only choice on the 28th of this month, which is a couple days away, is the Tobago People's Party. You all say it with me, the Tobago People's Party. Say it with me one more time, the Tobago People's Party, because this is the only party who going forward.
On April 28th, vote TPP.
That was a paid political advertisement.
racing in Tobago. So it's goat racing time. This is 116, the show that keeps you in the know with all things Tobago House of Assembly. Each week, 116 delivers a fun and engaging overview of the latest developments, achievements, activities, and events of our dynamic assembly. So join me. Let's dive into the Tobago House of Assembly's Week in Review right here on 116.
You've heard a voice on the radio, seen her in your worship, and have sung her songs during your time of praise. Sinesh.
Everybody now, let's go!
Sinesh comes to Tobago for Melodies from Heaven on April 17th. The Shore Park Complex alights with praise and worship from 6 p.m. for Melodies from Heaven featuring Sinesh. Samuel Madas.
You'll be the only one who's excited to call your name.
Positive.
Me never could have changed my mind.
Blessed Messenger.
Give blood of Jesus over your family.
Renee Fortune and many more.
From my head to my feet.
Get your physical tickets now. Tickets are also available online at islandetickets.com. Visit TobagoFestivalsCommission.com for more info or call 639-4441. April 17th at Shore Park Complex. Melodies from Heaven. Tobago Rhythm and Soul Festival 2025. Feel the beat. Embrace the calm.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to our viewers. Welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. And we're going to get into some sports. And in studio right now, we have Mr. Josiah Leacock. And he's a committee member and he's going to talk to us about the Nutsy Fast 5 tournament. Good morning, Mr. Leacock.
So, good morning to you on the panel. My name is Josiah Leacock. I'd like to say good morning to Tobago, by extension, Trinidad. And I'm here just to give you a little insight on the Nutsy's Fast 5 tournament.
All right, so tell us, what is the Nutsy's Fast 5 tournament about?
So the Nutsy's Fast 5 tournament was a program where we had started back in 2022. You know, it's a sporting program where we try to encourage majority of the youths to come off the street, as we know, you know, to engage in sport. You know, not all kids are academically inclined, so we try to use sport as a, you know, as just as a shortcut into the narrative of life. So we try to help by using sports, and we use netball, we use wind ball cricket, football, track and field we intend to go into, and so forth.
So what was the genesis of the Nutsy Fast 5 and why the name Fast 5?
Well, you know, you're just looking for some excitement, you know, so we try to make it as quick as possible. So the little glimpse that you might get, you might miss it, somebody else might see it, you know, just having the little spurt into the action kind of triggers everything. So we name it, we capitalize on the name Nutsy's Fast 5.
Okay, and so you said it's a tournament, right?
Yeah, it's a tournament. It's a 3-day tournament. Today is the beginning of the 3-day tournament. Today is the netball. The netball starts at 6 p.m. You know, the football kicks off tomorrow at 2 p.m. and we look forward to the cricket on Sunday at 11 a.m.
And what is the feedback and the feedback from the sports organizations? You all have a high level of participation. Is there excitement around the tournament?
Yes, of course. We always interact with the community. The community has always been supportive, Canaan, Bonaccord, and Crown Point, and environs. Other communities, we have a lot of support coming out from everyone. You know, everyone look forward to the Nutsy's Fast 5 tournament. It's very exciting. I'm not only a committee member, but I'm also the host for the 4 years that is actually happening. So yeah, I'm the man that kicks off all the excitement and bring out everyone into the community.
All right, and you say it's been 4 years. From the first year to this year, tell us about the growth of the tournament. How have you seen this tournament grow over the years?
This has been something that we all was shocked by, because I remember the first year where we was doing the planning and so forth, everything wasn't coming to pass because it's the first year, you're doing something, you intend to learn and, you progress from there. And I can tell you, this is the 4th annual year. Trust and believe. You would hear it on the streets, you would probably hear it on the radio, but you're hearing it from the man himself. Nutsy's Fast 5 tournament is the real deal.
Okay, and for persons who might want to come and not participate, but look on, tell them about, this is the first day, tell us about what kind of excitement and vibes they could expect from the Nutsy Fast 5.
Advise you to do is to make your way down to the Canaan Bonaccord Hard Court today at 6 p.m. You want to know what is taking place at the Nutsy Fast 5 tournament? Make your way down. I am the man in charge. I guarantee you, you're going to enjoy.
All right, so in terms of prizes and prizes or special prizes or winners' prizes, you'll have a structure for that?
Yeah, there's a lot of giveaways, a lot of tokens, by well-established businesses. Myself, I also give away tokens onto the youths, because we always try to get the youths and them involved, who's on the outside. We look at the senior citizens as well, who come out just for a chill, relax afternoon. We try to give them a lot of incentives as well. Fun-filled for everyone, and we try to give as much for everyone at the same time.
I heard you just mentioned that some of the prizes are sponsored by businesses. So this is not something that is fully funded by Nutsy, by himself, but in terms of we got a lot of buy-in from local businesses and that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, we'll get, the local businesses will come and, it's just giving a helping hand. It's not something that everyone would get themselves into, but we still appreciate each and every one that give that assistant hand, because it goes a long way. As we could see from the first year, I can tell you, it started off a little bit rough, but this is the 4th year, and the growth that had happened from 2022, and we are in 2025, this has been remarkable for the whole committee team, and we do appreciate each and every person that give their little assistance onto the team.
And the type of teams that participate in this tournament across the various different sports, how far and wide do they come from?
I believe at one point in time we had a team from the countryside, but unfortunately they didn't make it onto the finals. The defending champions so far for each year has been a team from right in the backyard of Canaan Bonaccord Crown Point. They had been winning for year after year after year. I think they haven't lost since we started this initiative. They haven't lost. And there's just a team to look out for. My boy who will be looking on right now, Sherwin Lovell, that have been the goal scorer for the football tournament so far. Into cricket, we have the Provident brothers and stuff like that, and the netball, the team base right in town here. So it's gonna be, believe me, you don't know what to expect. You don't know what to expect, because it changes up every year, and teams just keep getting stronger and stronger. You have no weak teams, and I was told this year that there are a lot of players coming out of retirement to get into the Fast 5. So we don't know if they might make the full 5 minutes or 2, but we look forward to the excitement still.
So, in terms of the future of the Nutsy Fast 5 tournament, how do you all see this tournament being expanded to maybe outside of his constituency, or island-wide? How far? What is the vision for the Nutsy Fast 5 tournament going forward?
Well, we did some planning, a few years ago we was looking at where we can expand and, try to get other communities involved, not only coming to us, but going to them. At some point in time we had a street football that was planning. We was looking at the front of Jade Monkey. However, that was kind of there's a hint to the mind, but we trying to expand this, and we're trying to do it properly. Right. We're just trying to just go into any community and just launch something. We want to be able to get it a little bit more established. Not because it is the 4th annual year means that everything is together, you know. So there is still a lot of planning being done, but you can look forward to seeing us in various communities: Bethel, Camby, Mount Pleasant, Buku, Plymouth, and other communities. We are looking at that, and it's just a matter of, you know, getting the structure put together properly, you know, and getting more commitment from the members, because members are committed, but we know how time is. So we try to do everything a little bit better, and we go forward from there.
All right, any final words you want to give to the public to promote Nutsy Fast 5?
So I would want to tell the public today, today is the first day, it's Friday, you know, it is on a Friday. So make your way down to the Canaan, what I call hard court. The netball kicks off today at 6 p.m. The football starts tomorrow at 2 p.m. The cricket is on Sunday at 11 a.m. Have you ever heard of the crab joe or the jerk turtle? I see, man, keeping it alive and alive. Come outside and enjoy yourself. I'm the host, bigging up Nutsy's Fast 5 tournament. My name is Joker Leacock. And Tobago updates. Make your way down this afternoon. Trust me, you're going to enjoy.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Josiah Leacock, committee member of the Nutsy Fast 5 Tournament Planning Committee. We want to go to our break, but before we go to the break, let's go to our photo of the day. Yes, we're going to pull up our photo of the day right now. You see that beautiful view? That's a very beautiful view. Hint, hint, it's of the Atlantic Ocean. So leave your answers in our Facebook and YouTube live comment chats. This photo was sent in by Kimberly Narain Govaya. That's our photo of the day. So we want to take a quick break and we will come back. And when we come back, we'll be speaking with Mr. Martin Superville, and he will be talking about fashion, Tobago Fashion Coda 7. But do us a favor, before we go, share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back after these messages.
Premier red carpet extravaganza. Tobago Fashion Coda is back with a bang, bringing with it quintessential style where runway meets rhythm. Come see the icons of Caribbean couture, showcasing the trailblazing fashions of Trinidad and Tobago. Tobago Fashion Coda 7 promises an unforgettable experience on the 18th of April 2025 at Magdalena Grand Beach and Golf Resort, a premium all-inclusive fashion soiree where runway meets rhythm.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supply specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
The following is a paid political advertisement.
She believes in Shipamon and she believes in her own villagers, in her own people. Send she back in. And when they tell you that we love you, that is lie. It's them so Lord Nelson sing about. They are the best liars. They're better than the tailor who could watch you go around a corner and get a measurement. And so that is how crafty and how excellent they are. That is why they could come up with all kind of voice recording and all kind of video and all kind of story. But I'm telling you, this time around, we are not afraid of them. We only fear God.
On April 28th, vote TPP.
That was a paid political advertisement.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to our viewers to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. And we have on the line with us Mr. Marcus Daniel. We're making a shift into sports right now, and Mr. Marcus Daniel will be on the line with us to speak about the latest developments in sports in Tobago. Good morning, Mr. Daniel.
Hey, morning, Akin Labi, and of course, morning to the viewers of Tobago Updates Television.
So tell us, you have a lot to talk about in Tobago sports to date. So what do you want to start off with?
Indeed. This weekend is a sporting weekend in Tobago. I'm going to start off today. In fact, we are in Trinidad for the secondary schools basketball championships, the national basketball championships, which started yesterday and is going to end on Sunday. Yesterday's first day, it wasn't a good day for the Tobago schools. The under 15 team out of Bishops, both the boys and girls, they were defeated yesterday. Really tough games. One game against Five Rivers, that the girls played against Five Rivers, and then the boys played against Holy Cross College. And I must say that outside of us putting up a really good fight, the teams from Trinidad, they were, better prepared. They played faster than us, and at the end of the game, they came out victorious. But still proud of the Tobago schools, Bishops High School under 15 boys and the under 15 girls. In fact, the open girls. But today we have day two. We have the St. Hill Secondary School. They are going to be taking on Fatima College in the first semi-final, starting at 9, and we are all playing the games at Pleasantville. That's the Southern sporting facility down at Pleasantville. So all the games have been played there, and then we're going to have a situation where tomorrow the under 20 boys of Bishops, they are expected to put up a really good fight tomorrow in their semi-final match. So expecting good things from Compre today, which starts at 9, and then we're going to have the third place playoff with the teams that would have lost yesterday playing today. That's sometime around midday. And you can follow all the action live. You can get the link on the Division of Education, Research and Technologies Facebook page. There's a YouTube link there. We can follow the action there. And of course, cheer on the Tobago schools while they vie for national championship.
This Signal Hill match, which year group is that? Which age bracket?
Sorry, that's the under 17 team. And obviously these are the winners of the Tobago Zone Finals. We had Bishops High School winning 3 of the age groups, the under 15, the Girls Open and the under 20. And Signal Hill boys, they won the under 17. So they are here in Trinidad looking for national titles.
And what has the mood been like within the camps of the Tobago teams down there in Trinidad?
You know, the teams always come expecting that they're going to put up a good fight against their counterparts in Trinidad. But as I mentioned earlier, in terms of the quality of play from the Trinidad players, what I saw yesterday, they played faster than us. They were a bit more physical, and I don't want to say they are a better coach than our players, but they had a system and they had a method, and it was very obvious on the court yesterday. But I mean, yesterday's defeat, it didn't dampen the mood in our camp. We believe that we can still put up a really good fight today, especially with the Signal Hill boys and then the under-20 boys of Bishops, who would have won this title before.
Well, you know, everything is a learning curve, and we hope that the teams could come back to Tobago after the tournament is over and better themselves, prepare, and come back out for the next season, next year, and put up a better showing. So just tell us, Marcus, what's going on with the Tobago Football Association? I see you want to talk about some League Champions tournament.
Yeah, well, finally, and I have to say finally, because this Tobago Football Association League started since August of last year, and it's going to come to an end tomorrow. Right? It's going to come to an end tomorrow, where we're going to have Signal Hill, surprisingly, Signal Hill United taking on Gold City. Big up Gold City out of Castor one time. Big up my Castor people in one time, yes? They are going to be contesting the finals tomorrow at the Dwight York Stadium. And I say surprisingly with Signal Hill and Gold City, because teams like Stockyville and Phoenix, they were unbeaten in the preliminary round. But you see, when it comes to knockout Akinabi, on that day when it comes to knockout football, anything can happen. And that's what happened with Phoenix. Yeah, exactly, Phoenix and Stockyville and those teams. We are accustomed seeing it in finals and stuff. So commendation to the coaching staff and management of Signal Hill and Castor Gold City. They are going to contest for the 2025 title of the Tobago Football Association League. And I expect that all of Castor, all of Signal Hill will be at the Dwight York Stadium tomorrow to support those two communities. And then we're going to have a situation where Phoenix and Leeds United, they are going to, not Phoenix, Roxborough, Lakers and Leeds United, they are going to battle for the third place playoff. Roxborough Lakers, they have already had silverware this season, being crowned the FA Cup champions, but they're going to contest for the third place tomorrow. So a packed day of football starting at 5:30, and they are encouraging persons to come out to their coolers. Of course, no glass bottles are allowed at the Dwight York Stadium. And then we're going to have at 8 p.m. the grand finale. After a very long season of Tobago Football Association, we expect that it's going to be a really good final on tomorrow. Admission only $50. So encouraging persons to go out there and support their respective communities, and not just the respective communities, but Tobago football on a whole.
Yes, yes. So I see these matchups here, Signal Hill versus Gold City and Wim versus Roxborough. Is it fair to say that this is a showdown of the underdogs taking the first, second, and third place?
If I only go on record as saying underdogs, I'm going to be criticized by some friends I have on both teams. But they have played well, and they often say the race is not for the swiftest, but who can enjoy it to the end. And these two teams are Signal Hill and Gold City. They have shown that they have this tenacity, and they would have actually played within the remit of the league. And even though they would not have been at the top of the table at the league stage or the group stages, they are there in the most important match of the season. So I wouldn't call them underdogs. I would say that they were very strategic, and they maintain their bench in terms of ensuring that their players remain healthy, and they are there tomorrow to contest our finals. Basically, a battle of the north side versus all of west.
Okay, so let's move on to the Scarborough Secondary School Alumni Association having a tournament called Beyond the Boundary tomorrow, Saturday, 12th of April. Tell us some more about that.
Well, I'm happy that the alumni are getting into the field that I love, which is cricket. Obviously, you know that in terms of Tobago, we have the Capture the Flag event, one of the probably biggest alumni events on the island. And now that I'm seeing that they are now moving into cricket, I'm very, very happy to hear that. Right? And then obviously last week we would have had a Macan Hislop, I think he's the chair or the secretary or one of the organizing committee members speaking about this event. And it's called Beyond the Boundary, where I think they have 5 alumni associations. I think Compre, Signal Hill, Scarborough Secondary, Mason Hall, Roxborough, and Speyside involved tomorrow. And it's going to be a 10-over affair at the Roxborough or the Sid Great car park. And I'm expecting a really an exciting and interesting day. Obviously, bragging rights will be at stake. And they don't have cash prizes, but vouchers and hampers to be won. And based on the conversation on the ground, I'm expecting to see a number of players who would have represented the various schools in back then and coming to play against each other tomorrow. So, weather permitting, is going to be a really good day at Roxborough, the Sidway Sporting Complex. I am going to be repping Scarborough Secondary because obviously I beat you all the time.
Yes. And we have coming up the community caravan, the Tobago West Community Caravan. Tell us some more about that.
Well, I don't know much about it. I saw a flyer, and obviously it's sports. So tomorrow there is the Empower Sports and Family Day at Montgomery tomorrow, where I saw on the flyer they are expecting a number of they have a number of novelty games, and then this one this is the I Choose Sport Caravan. This has happened last year, well attended, I must say, and I'm happy to see it again happening in Tobago, but this time at the Dwight York Stadium training ground. It's a situation where they're gonna have football. Last year they had netball as well, and a number of track events like flat races and bouncy castles for children. Just stuff to encourage participation in sports. So I'm happy that they're going to have it again in Tobago, and looking forward to that on Sunday.
All right, Marcus, Daniel, thank you very much for joining us and giving us that rundown of sport on the island, and even in Trinidad, where Tobago teams are participating. Thank you very much for that. We hope
and before I go, Akinlabi, I just want to commend all the Tobago athletes who would have been selected for the character games. Obviously, character games happening in Trinidad and Tobago as of next week. And we had a situation where 20 Tobagonians, 20 Tobago athletes, student athletes, would have been selected for a record-breaking, I think it's 93 athletes out of Trinidad who will be representing Trinidad and Tobago. And we also have 4 officials. I want to recognize the officials because I can't call all the 20 athletes. QQ Melville, who will be the manager of the team. Kelsey Toussaint, which will be our coach. Kern Tom and Alan Morrison. So shout out to the officials and shout out to all the athletes representing Trinidad and Tobago. But obviously, bringing up my Trinidad or my Tobago athletes and them. And I'm expecting to have a really good time because I'll be down there next week at the Hazy Crawford Stadium, the refurbished Hazy Crawford Stadium, representing the red, white, and black and supporting Team TTO.
But that's truly incredible news. Thank you very much, Marcus Daniel, for that sports wrap-up. And we hope that you have a safe and productive weekend. Take care.
Fantastic.
All right, viewers, we've come to the end of our programming for this Tobago Updates morning show, but the station's programming doesn't end there. We have coming up next GMT. So do us a favor, share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll see you next week.
You're viewing Tobago Updates Television, your exclusive gateway to Tobago, broadcasting the beauty of this island paradise to the world.
Healthcare on the island continues to be top priority for the Tobago House of Assembly. And as such, the Tobago Regional Health Authority recently commissioned 3 state-of-the-art high-tech ambulances to continue to provide service delivery to the people of Tobago. This will not only increase the present fleet, but will enhance the emergency medical services across the island in an effort to ensure timely responses when carrying out medical duties.
Today is a proud and momentous day of the Tobago Regional Health Authority, and by extension, the people of Tobago. The actual commissioning of these 3 ambulances, you didn't get it? The actual commissioning is not just about adding vehicles to our fleet, it is about strengthening and shortening the critical lifeline that exists between Tobagonians and their healthcare delivery units, the hospitals. As we officially commission these ambulances, let us reaffirm our collective responsibility to serve, protect, and provide quality care for every Tobagonian.
If we are to provide proper health care, we need to be able to provide swift health care. And swift health care requires several things, but two broad things. Speed, getting the people to the health service, and then at the health service, getting them diagnosed quickly and then treated. And with those things, I am pleased to be here as we commission 3 of the 4 ambulances. I have heard about the tanks and how battle ready they are. This is just one step. This is just the first step, but it is the first of many. And each of you have been a part of making this first step an amazing reality.
Before purchasing these ambulances, a series of studies was carried out in order to make the best suitable purchases.
I'm pleased to inform you that the work of our technical teams in corporate services, operations, legal services, and TEMS produced a detailed and modern specification requirement list that achieve the delivery of these state-of-the-art, 2-patient-ready emergency medical delivery units, the TRHA tanks. Four of these units, as the 3 here demonstrate, are, as you will no doubt observe, just above the average size of the current units in the existing fleet, and will no doubt be applied immediately to work. The next 8 will be single patient ready, slightly more nimble and smaller, again with the most modern specifications necessary to prioritize quality care and quality care delivery in Tobago.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
You're viewing Tobago Updates Television, your exclusive gateway to Tobago, broadcasting the beauty of this island paradise to the world.
doing? GMT, good morning, Tobago. I'm your host this morning, Natalie Seeley Richardson. And of course, we thank Candace for holding us down during the week. And I am here for us to spend some time this morning. Very interesting conversation coming up. But before we do that, here is the news in 90 seconds for Friday, April 11th. Nearly 18,000 students sit SEA exam without incident. Almost 18,000 students across Trinidad and Tobago successfully sat the SEA exam on Thursday without any reported issues. According to the Ministry of Education, the exam was held at 547 centers nationwide with 17,937 registered candidates, 1,006 in Tobago. Students unable to sit the exam due to illness or emergencies will have a second opportunity on May 8th. Support was provided for 436 students with special education needs. Education Minister Dr. Nian Gatsby-Dolly credited the smooth execution to collaboration among teachers, staff, and the national agencies. Results are expected in early July via the online SEA portal. Education Division denies SEA delay claims. Meanwhile, the Division of Education, Research and Technology has refuted claims made in a viral video by PNM Tobago West candidate Chamfer Kojo Lewis that SEA exams in Tobago were delayed due to missing clocks. The division confirmed all 40 centers started on time with proper equipment and accommodations for students with special concessions. The division noted the trained invigilators were equipped with timekeeping devices and that all protocols were strictly followed after a comprehensive training session for SEA personnel on April 3rd. It further assured the public that students with approved special accommodations, such as extra time, began their exams in alignment with the national schedule and were closely supervised to maintain exam integrity. THTA elects new board, sets tourism priorities. The Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association has elected a new board led by Mr. Reginald McLean as president, following its annual general meeting on April 8 at Mount Irving Bay Resort. Key goals include refinancing the TTAL, repealing the Foreign Investment Act, allocating 3% of the room tax for marketing, and boosting airlift. The board, serving until 2027, aims to tackle critical tourism challenges and is urging public support to strengthen the sector. And that was your news in 90 seconds. We go for a quick break, and when we return, we have our first guest with us this morning.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand.
The following is a paid political advertisement.
She believes in she party more than she believes in her own villagers, in her own people. Send she packing. And so when they tell you that we love you, that is lie. It's them so Lord Nelson sing about. They are the best liars. They're better than the tailor who could watch you go around a corner and get a measurement. And so that is how crafty and how excellent they are. That is why they could come up with all kind of voice recording and all kind of video and all kind of story. But I'm telling you, this time around, we are not afraid of them. We only fear God.
On April 28th, vote TPP.
That was a paid political advertisement.
ready. Stephen Marley is on his
From the Rima, me. If a little matches, you.
The Rhythm and Soul Festival introduces the son of the legend, the one and only Stephen Marley. Experience the Marley Dynasty live at the Dwight York Stadium at Fusion, Easter Sunday, April 20th. The Kings reunite on one stage. Stephen Marley.
Yeah, baby, don't worry,
Graham Smogan.
have I shown you?
Wayne Wonder.
Somebody, she is a beauty.
Cast the Band, and many more.
This song she
Tickets are going fast. Follow Tobago Festivals on Facebook and Instagram. Or call 639-4441 for more info. Fusion, April 20th at Parade Grounds, Dwight York Stadium. The Tobago Rhythm and Soul Festival. Feel the beat. Embrace the calm.
Welcome back, viewers. You are viewing Good Morning Tobago GMT, and if you are viewing us for the very first time, a special welcome and thank you for joining us. You are viewing Tobago Updates Television. To our viewers online as well who have been with us from the morning show, thank you for staying with us as well. And of course, I encourage you to share the live. There are others who need to know what's going on in this beautiful island of Tobago. This morning, our guest joins us virtually, and he is none other than Dr. Vanus James. And we are going to be talking about what most of you have been discussing all week long when our Prime Minister Stuart Young announced the revocation of the OFAC license. Now, some of us understand this inside out. Some of us need to do more research. So I hope at the end of this conversation you are clearer and we all understand the significance of this change, and we look forward, I hope I can use that word, in terms of what is to come for us as an economy. So I welcome Dr. James this morning. Good morning, Dr. James.
Morning. Good morning. How are you?
I am well, and how are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing fantastic.
Right, and of course, for those who are not familiar with Dr. James, where have you been? This is Dr. Vanus James, professor, economist, you just name it. He has worked and consulted with international agencies, and he continues to champion the cause for Tobago and Tobagonians. So let's get right into it, Dr. James. We know that a lot of people are talking about this revocation of this OFAC license, what it means. We're hearing about the Dragon gas field, and there are some people who really don't understand what has happened. How does it connect us to the US, etc. So I want us to start there quite briefly in terms of explaining for those who may have missed it when the Prime Minister made the announcement about the revocation of this OFAC license. One, who is OFAC? What is this license about? And then what it means for us having this license revoked.
Well, let's give a common sense answer, a non-technical answer for the benefit of the public.
Mm-hmm.
The government of Trinidad and Tobago under Rowley made a deal with the government of Venezuela, quote unquote, with the approval of the US government, to allow for the joint exploitation, and so on, of the gas reserves lying between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago, but basically owned by Venezuela. And Venezuela has been having difficulty with the US for some time because of the stance of the Maduro government, the political stance. And so they are having trouble exploiting and exporting their gas, and Trinidad and Tobago thought it could take advantage of the opportunities provided by having these large reserves, trillions of cubic feet of gas available right on our doorstep. And since we've been doing a lot of things with processing gas downstream on our Atlantic trains and so on, LNG trains, we thought we could go ahead and extract some of that and export it through our capabilities. And Venezuela agreed with Rowley's government, and they thought they could basically rely on that for the future. So Rowley promised that sometime in 2027, when that begins to become the go-to resource for the continuation of gas exploitation in Trinidad and Tobago, gas downstream manufacturing, we would be in good straits then. Remember that our gas reserves are rapidly depleting.
Yes.
We have some north of Tobago, that's in what Tobagonians call Tobago waters, in the Colibri fields north up there, but not a large enough pool to drive the industry that we have in Trinidad. So the Dragon fields and the Lorraine fields cross-border would be a great resource for us to rely on. Now, we take the position that we have to get the agreement of the Americans, and that's the geopolitics in which we live. And they did provide some agreement in that direction. But now what they have really done, especially under Trump, is to revoke that, because they have their own geopolitical agenda in the region and their own beef, revived beef, so to say, with Maduro. And the risk always was that would happen, and it has come to realization. So now we no longer have the agreement of the Americans to exploit and export that gas in any form.
Mm-hmm.
That means for the country a fundamental collapse, almost you might say, of our downstream gas industries.
Right.
Because we don't have enough to supply and keep them running. And that then means, on top of that, that foreign exchange challenges that are already so huge in the country will become worse
right.
in 2026, 2027, even 2025.
Mm-hmm. And
that's the real story.
And even before we even get to some of the implications, why was this gas deal so important? And I mean, you alluded in terms of foreign exchange already, but why was this deal so important to us as a country?
Because without a new source of gas, the Atlantic LNG project will slowly grind to a halt.
Right.
We do not have enough of our own gas flows, notwithstanding the North Tobago fields. We don't have enough there to keep these operating at full capacity,
right,
on a commercially viable basis. Right. So it wouldn't take long for the industry right. to collapse in Trinidad and Tobago if we don't have a new source. And the Venezuela source was it was a good idea to go after that. Right, if I were the government, I wouldn't go after it with American permission. I'll just make my deal with Maduro and let the Americans deal with that.
Right, and that brings me to the next question, because a lot of persons are also asking, and for some it's not that obvious, how does the American government get into play here? Because as you said, can a deal be made directly with the Venezuelan government? But again, we know the history, the politics, sanctions. So why is the U.S. government involved in this, and is the agency to pull that license?
Well, it's the stance the government, the kind of sense of self-worth that we have in the Caribbean space. We think we are so-called backyard occupants of the Americans, but we are sovereign countries, and we ought to go about our business, make deals with whoever we want without reference to the Americans. However, the thinking of the governments across the Caribbean generally is to let me use the old-fashioned kowtow to the Americans, because we don't have the spine. We're scared of them. We shouldn't be in that position. And I cannot imagine, as a person living in the country from since then, I can't imagine Eric Williams going to anybody in America to get permission to make a deal with Venezuela. But that's the attitude that was adopted by Rowley and other governments, actually. So I mean, I think it's our self-confidence that's at evidence.
But
here.
is it just self-confidence? Or, I mean, when we look at where we are in terms of the politics of the world, sanctions, and we see what's happening even to countries who seem to be standing up, against the current U.S. administration, what's happening in terms of tariffs and what seems to be evolving or emerging trade wars. Is it fair to say it's that simple as, we need the self-confidence to do what we have to do?
I think so. I think, you see, what you're dealing with is the need for a rules-based order. And what the country has to do is line up with all those in the world who want a rules-based order. We can't afford to allow young people in the country to end up in a world in which bullies are able to tell small countries what to do. And so we have to cook up deals with other countries in the world to create a world order in which no bully gets to drive the world in the direction in which he or she wants it to go. Now, you fight on that front in the UN space and other spaces.
Right.
But secondly, you have to have the self-confidence as a society to develop your society properly, empower your people, pull your people into the fight. In Trinidad and Tobago, what we have been doing is running dictatorial governments, so we really can't rally the population to fight the global competition for development opportunity. So when I say self-confidence, I don't mean the self-confidence of the Prime Minister. I'm talking about mobilizing the country so that the whole country could be part of the information flow that specifies why we need to make a deal with Venezuela. Mm-hmm. And then the country endorses that. That's what we need. And let the world say that the people of Trinidad and Tobago are wrong to want a deal with Venezuela. But when you cook it up and just have the government, quote unquote, go and make a deal, and the people of Trinidad and Tobago have no way to say we agree, then you are in big trouble. And that's the problem. That's what we have here in Trinidad and Tobago. So the Rowley government made the deal, but the people of Trinidad and Tobago did not have a way to weigh in.
And we aren't there yet. As you said, it's something we should aspire to. But let's look at where we are now. And you can correct me if I have a misunderstanding, but the companies that are drilling for gas and oil in Trinidad and Tobago are U.S. companies. And
that's and European Shell is involved.
Right. And when we look at, the exploration of gas, and if the companies investing are U.S. companies, then we can understand, the involvement as well. Because when you look at the U.S.-Venezuela relationship, if there's any at all, we are like that middle person kind of bridging, because I don't think the U.S. and Venezuela will deal directly. So Trinidad and Tobago is kind of bridging that relationship in terms of this dragon deal that was made. And again, I'm learning as well, so you can correct me.
Well, I think in our case, the main player in the cross-border fields would be Shell.
Okay.
That's fundamentally a European company. The fear they would have, of course, is U.S. sanctions. Right. So they wouldn't play with us if they feel threatened by sanctions by the U.S., which I think is the fundamental reason the government would go to the Americans and say, well, make a deal, allow us to make the deal so that you won't have to sanction or operating companies. But that goes to my point. It's okay to pay attention to that. But if you pay attention to that when you are exposed on the backside to American bullying, then you have to play that game. There is a bigger game. I used to be an employee of the UN. I used to be a senior policy advisor in the UN, and one of the things I learned while working in the UN is that it works through all of these networking among countries that will allow a rules-based order to operate. That's why we built up the WTO. We made trade rules under those arrangements, GATS and GATT and all of those kinds of things. We can't operate as a society. Trinidad and Tobago can no progress in a society in which the Americans or the Chinese or any other country feels it has the right, or Venezuela feels it has the right to say, this is what you have to do as a sovereign nation. So we have to play the international game of alliance building. Let me just make one point to you that the country could observe. I recall when I was working in the UN, it used to worry me that the Caribbean voices, we had at the time about 18 countries. That makes a pretty big block when you think about it in the UN context. The voices of the Caribbean were divided voices, notwithstanding CARICOM. And so we couldn't really deploy the power of our numbers in voting one country, one vote systems. We couldn't deploy the power of our numbers to force the deals in the direction in which we want to go, because of thoughtlessness on the part of the governments. So I don't think our hands are bound to be tied by any need to go to America for permission. It's the way we engage the world that is the critical issue. And we're making a huge mistake of engaging the world on this divided basis, rather than working through proper coalitions among ourselves to pool the power of our numbers, enforcing a certain kind of rules-based order to operate. And we as a people have to deal with one another in a certain way. Caribbean people have to treat people of, say, Indian descent in a way that allows us to say with moral authority to the world, this is how we want you to treat black people in America. This is how we want you to treat other groups of people around the world. We don't want you to be a bully in the world, because look at how we are treating our people here with respect and grace and dignity. All our groups, no matter who they are. This is how we treat Tobago in Trinidad and Tobago. Learn from us. We can't do that because we are running dictatorial systems all across the Caribbean space. It's
and
a huge problem.
If I can just ask my director to show the clipping of the former Prime Minister who would have commented on the past, on the Dragon deal. You know, he was talking about it futuristically, but it has happened. And I thought his words were quite interesting. And I want us just to remind our viewers, because my question would follow the former Prime Minister's take on if this deal was ever to be revoked, the license. So if we can have that clip now.
If you see us losing that OFAC license, as you will see in the news if it happens, then you know you're cook. If you see the Venezuelans not allowing us to use the Dragon field, then you know that we are in difficulty.
So are we really in difficulty? Because you have the current Prime Minister who had the, I would say, unfortunate task to announce this to us, the general public. And of course, he assured us that it's not instant. There's a protocol to follow. You can have the revocation re-examined. You can have dialogue. And I think the government has until May, sometime in May, to treat with it. But according to the former Prime Minister, if this were ever to happen, you know, in local parlance, we cook. Is it that that's where we are? What's the way forward now that we are at this point?
Well, in a sense, we cook. But we were put in that position primarily by the PNM and PNM governments ever since Eric Williams in 1956. The country didn't have to find itself in a position where the loss of the deal with Venezuela is the death knell of our economy. We should never have been in that position. When I was a young economist coming out of UWI, and even before that when I was in high school, the country leading economists like Eugenio Moore and Doddridge Allen and other prominent Tobagonians used to observe, William Demas observe that we have to diversify the economy away from oil and gas.
Right.
Doddridge Allen was an energy economist, and he used to make that observation. He specifically told me so on Cipriani Boulevard when I first met him as a Charlottesville man. This is not the way to run the economy. And we knew that for decades. So to come in 2024 and lament that we could cook if a deal on oil and gas goes through is a measure of both the incompetence of the PNM as a political party and the incompetence of the Prime Minister, who, as a person who used to be in the Parliament for 44 years. That is not, Trinidad and Tobago has all sorts of examples across the Caribbean that I'm studying for the UN today.
Right.
That we do not have to set up ourselves simply around oil and gas, or even oil and gas and manufacturing of consumer durables protected by the common external tariff of CARICOM. If you look in the St. Kitts economy, St. Kitts is an economy with no oil and gas. They produce almost 22,000 US dollars per person of output every year. Trinidad and Tobago, with all the oil and gas, produces today about 14,000. So you have a tiny island smart enough to do something different. And what they're doing is they are producing education services for export and other professional services for export alongside tourism that we talk about a lot here in Tobago. And it is that allows them to succeed in driving development. So they are achieving both growth and development in St. Kitts Nevis, tiny islands. Now, Trinidad and Tobago is achieving growth with no development by depending on oil and gas and what you call consumer durable manufacturers. Now, if you look in the Bahamas, in about 1996, thereabouts, when I first went there, I think, you had an economy that was producing about 14, 15,000 US per person per year, primarily on tourism. But even at that time, they saw the need to diversify, and so they launched out into the development of a financial services program through which they are exporting high quality, high value added legal services, high value added accounting services, high value added portfolio design services, and so on. Today, the Bahamas produces 31,000 US dollars per person every year. That does not have anything to do with dependence on oil and gas. You do not have to be in this position. For years, we've been telling the governments, including the government here in Tobago, which also has stick break in the ears, you cannot do tourism successfully by relying on people to come here for a couple of days to visit the beach.
Right.
To work, Jamaica has 2.5 million tourists coming to Jamaica to visit the beach every year. And what is the consequence of just relying on that? 5,300 US dollars per person they produce a year. The worst performing economy. There are more airports than Tobago. There are many millions more guests coming to Jamaica than Tobago, and it's producing no development for them. The country should have known, if they had looked at the evidence properly. That's the evidence I am modeling for the US, for the UN today. That evidence tells you the way to develop these island economies is not to rely on oil and gas, not to rely on consumer manufacturers. You have to go towards production and export of the professional services. And we as a people are skilled enough, competent enough to head in that direction. So when Rowley complains about it and say you cook with the breakdown of the deal, he is right. But we are in that position because we are running dictatorial systems of government that do not have to listen to anybody.
Right. And Dr. James, you know, diversification has been a forever topic. It doesn't matter which political party has been in central government, which political party has been in the THE. what do you think has really stopped us from actually moving forward? Because it's one thing to always have these conversations, but I'm always stuck at the point where when do we actually put things in place? When do we actually start to make that change? Because we all know we need to diversify. We have been saying it. It's something I've been hearing since I'm a little girl. You know, so
Absolutely.
here we are now, which may make us which may thrust us or force us to say, hey, we really have to do something. We've been talking about it, right? But we really have to act upon it. How does a government now go about making this switch? We see the smaller Caribbean islands have done it successfully, and maybe that's because they didn't have a choice. We had a choice. When money was flowing for oil and gas, why look for anything else? You know, theoretically, we know not to put all our eggs in one basket, but if it's working, why fix it? But now
But it hasn't been working. May I point out to you, you're quite right if it's working, but it hasn't been working. If you just look at the 10 years of Rowley's tenure from 2015, every year from 2015 to 2024, the output per person of the country in real terms had declined. Every year, 18,000, 17,000, 16, 15, 14, today, every year. So if you had looked properly, you could see all the signs in front of you that even when oil prices had gone up to $90-something a barrel, it wasn't helping you. You should have known, we have known for 70 years, but you should have seen the light if you were thoughtful, at least in Rowley's tenure, to do something different.
But is it fair, Dr. James, to put all this on former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley's tenure? Because we've had other political parties run central government. We've had other prime ministers who also sat in the seat where changes and policies could have been implemented. So why put that weight?
He came last. He came last in the deal, so he could have seen the history. At least you could watch what happened. Manning tried the financial services, it didn't work. He didn't know how to do it. You could have looked back ever since Eric Williams took power. The writing has been on the wall. It wasn't more than 14 years after Williams took power that young people in Trinidad and Tobago, including right here in Tobago, said to the country, time to empower our people. We marched the streets in 1970 to say, power to the people. And Rowley empathized with that. So when he went into Parliament with a huge pool of information that he should have learned from. He couldn't do anything. I'm not blaming him alone. I'm blaming the whole system we are running. He couldn't do anything with the economy because you cannot do anything with the economy if you're running the system of government we have.
Right.
You have to begin by changing the system of government. And Rowley said in 2015 when he took power, before he took power, I heard him myself in the campaign in Carenage. He doesn't want to change the rules. Well, that's the same thing as saying you don't want to diversify, because you cannot diversify if you don't change the rules. That's the critical thing that the country has to observe. Today, you want to make any new thrust, you want to get out of the mess that this breakdown of the deal has put us in, the first critical step is to set up the country properly so our communities get into the business of fighting for economic development in their own interest. Tobago gets into the business of fighting with proper autonomy arrangements. I don't mean hate Trinidad arrangements. I mean proper autonomy arrangements to allow the people of Tobago to control what the Executive Council is doing, and so on. And diversification follows automatically from that. You know where you see evidence of that? If you look at what happened in Cayman and Bermuda, they are outperforming the US economy by far. The Cayman is producing 97,000 US per person every year. Bermuda, about 127,000 US per person every year. Now, they are both using the British Westminster style model of inclusive government. But what that proves to you is that you need an inclusive system of government where all the voices are able to share information, including the voices of the potential investors, the foreign investors and so on. All those people are able to share information about what to do. And it is the absence of a system of government like that that is making us bungle and blunder year in, year out, because all we are doing is allowing a couple of people in cabinet to make all the decisions without having to hear from anybody else, except perhaps their friends. That's not how you're going to diversify the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. That
Right, and
evidence
Dr. James, I must interrupt you here because it's time for us to take a break. It's very important.
Okay.
That's how we pay our bills here. So viewers, we go for a quick break. When we return, we continue speaking to Dr. Vanis James.
The following is a paid political advertisement.
If it is as an island, we are to protect our coastline and manage this issue with crime and violence, then they have to treat Tobago better when national security is concerned. We have to ensure that Tobago agencies of the Ministry of National Security get the actual resources that they need. Why in this day and age we have police officers who can't get simple things to do their jobs? They can't get access to enough vehicles. Army, same issue. I had to get the Coast Guard a vehicle so they could transport workers to Charlottesville where they have a base. Coast Guard have no boat. And our fishermen, when they go out to sea, they are at mercy to pirates. Every Monday morning, somebody's stealing their engines. And when they steal an engine, they come and cry and say, "Oh gosh, state, help me buy an engine. Help me buy a boat." We had a gentleman in operator of Bell Garden lose everything. Brand new boat, engine, everything he lost. And I'm saying to you, if we are to remedy that, we have to send people down to Trinidad who have an appreciation for the security needs of the island of Tobago.
On April 28, vote TPP.
That was a paid political advertisement.
Fusion. On April 20th, 2025, the parade grounds comes alive for a blend of genres, offering something for all ages and tastes at Fusion.
Keep me up. Only you alone could put fire back in the soul.
Experience a night of great music and unforgettable vibes. Dance to the music of Cast the Band. Cast the Band. Cast the Band.
Tell me diamonds, baby. Take back a diamonds, honey. Take back a diamonds, baby.
Stephen Marley, Gramps Morgan, Wayne Wonder, and many more. Get your physical tickets now. Tickets are also available online at islandetickets.com. Visit TobagoFestivalsCommission.com for more info or call 639-4441. April 20th at Parade Grounds, Dwight York Stadium. Fusion, Tobago Rhythm and Soul Festival 2025. Feel the beat. Embrace the calm.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49SWIFT 4979438.
Welcome back, viewers, and thank you for staying with us. You are viewing GMT Good Morning Tobago. It is Friday, the 11th of April, 2025, and we continue to have a conversation with Dr. Vanish James as we talk about the revoking of the Dragon Deal license by OFAC. And Dr. James, I want us to look at Tobago. So we're talking about diversifying, and nationally we know that we have been quite dependent on oil and gas. But in Tobago, the thrust has been tourism. Whether it's working or not, that's a different conversation. But the thrust has always been to look at tourism for Tobago's economy. But again, you know, it's my understanding when Cove came into play, it was an opportunity or hope that Tobago can diversify from tourism and be a part of that energy sector, you know, by having Cove. But I think we're back at the tourism sector, because you're talking about, you're hearing about Sandals, discussions coming back on the table again with Sandals. So is it that Tobago has that thrust for diversification, looking at Cove in the energy sector, and especially what's happening now? Do you think the trust should be back, you know, at the tourism sector? And, you know, the Sandals, is that the wherewithal, the savior of the day? What's your perspective in terms of Tobago moving forward and looking at diversification?
Well, let me help you to interpret history a little bit there, yes, because Tobago has never had a tourism economy. It has always had a government economy, right, from 1898 to today. The biggest contributor to the Tobago economy today is the government, THA plus central government. Right. They account for about 54% of the Tobago economy. That's huge. Right. That means tourism is a tiny 1-2% contributor, essentially. Nothing much there. Even if you measure tourism in terms of our distribution activities and so on, you're not getting more than about 6 or 7%, really, of activity on the island. So we're not a tourism economy. We've never been. Right. Now, the wish to do that is the right wish. We need to move away from being a government economy, and we need to build a tourism economy. But it can't be a Jamaican-style tourism economy, or a St. Lucia-style tourism economy, or a Trinidad-style tourism economy in which you have the carnival event once a year, seasonal, driving the attraction of visitors. You need to head down the road of what I like to call an industrialized tourism, in which you are producing capital services for export. That's what St. Kitts Nevis used to set up a development process, and it's alive and well and rapid in St. Kitts Nevis now. That's what the Bahamas used. That's what Cayman used. That's what Bermuda used. Those are the successes that we have on the record in the region, and that's the direction in which any newcomer should be heading, including a place like Tobago. What we ought to have done is to use the oil and gas to underlie that kind of thing. What Manning had in mind was the right idea, for example, with financial services. Right. Because there what you're exporting is high-valued legal services, high-valued accounting services, high-valued financial portfolio development services, and so on. That's the direction in which we have to go. Education for export, healthcare for export, and so on. The housing stock goes along with that, and that housing stock that goes along with that, you see evidence of it clear if you ever visit the Cayman Islands. 80% of their quote-unquote tourism housing stock is 10 and 20 room boutique facilities that could charge a lawyer $150 a night to stay for 4 months. Right. You can't put an accounting firm and a legal firm in Sandals for 4 months. They'll go bankrupt. That's not the way you build tourism if you are in Tobago. And the fundamental answer to the question is you've got to head down the road of what Castara is trying to do. You've got to go down the road of community-based tourism. That's what we're building up for the Eastern Caribbean right now in our work there. You have to head down that road, and you have to supplement that by bringing a lot of foreign investment into the island. And the foreign investment has to come in a special way. You can't just put out an ad for foreign investors and say Tobago open for business. What you're going to do is set up what we're building up in the Eastern Caribbean as an entrepreneurship development program in which the communities can operate as incubators and accelerators to attract startup firms, foreign promising businesses and so on to come and flesh out and scale up and so on and operate in a family-friendly environment. They come, they could bring their workers, high-skilled workers, which is what they would come for if you're attracting them into the capital services activities. And what you promise them is the opportunity to be part of the asset owning process in Tobago. They can own homes and other things like those, and they can bring their family. They can become Tobagonians by law, meaning nationals of Trinidad and Tobago if their businesses perform and thrive. You could do what Malta is doing this on a grand scale and doing it well. The Caribbean has a lot of it in the form of a citizen by investment program that we are now working with them to develop further into something that could compete on a sustainable basis and not be subject to American subterfuge. So the whole idea is that we shouldn't be going down the road of a government economy anymore. But we can't fool ourselves into thinking that the answer to that is to bring people to go to Pigeon Point to bathe for a couple of days. That can't work. And it's even worse when you are thinking of putting a hotel plant in no man's land. No man's land is no man's land. We should not allow any industry, whether Sandals or who, to be located there. We could bring our Sandals in, put them somewhere else. You could bring them in, but you must be going into that with your eye big, knowing that a Sandals, Jamaica have plenty Sandals all over the place, and plenty spin-offs from Sandals, beaches and breezes and other things like those. And their economic performance is the worst in the Caribbean. So Sandals is not a solution. We know the solution, and it's not that kind of solution. You have to learn from what St. Kitts Nevis is doing, to some extent from what Grenada is doing, although that needs to be scaled up substantially. A lot from what Bahamas is doing, a lot from what Cayman is doing, and so on, and head down that road. That takes time. It takes build-up of Tobago capacity in two forms. One is you have to develop the education system properly. That we can talk about another time. And then you have to bring foreign investors in with their staff, so you build up the pool of skills. Can I make one observation to you?
Yes.
You cannot develop tourism in Tobago or any other industry
Go ahead.
with only 16% of your workers having tertiary education. You look at Singapore, it's up to 44% of their workers having tertiary education. That's the quality of workforce you need if you're a small island to compete in the world system. So the 16% we have in Tobago is a non-starter. We got to change the way we deal with our education system. And to do that, we have to change the education system itself. It has to extend beyond what we call schooling now, primary, secondary, tertiary, into the workplace in the way Germany did it. For example, you have the workplace is part of your school system. You have what we properly should call apprenticeship with certification. What we call OJT is not the model, because you need to keep certifying people on the job to have global recognition of the growing quality of their skills. And that is what allows for the speed of learning that offsets the loss of Tobago's brains to Trinidad and to the rest of the world. We have to change our model if we are serious about developing an economy.
We have to wrap up soon, but I must ask, how concerned should we be again? And I'm talking about the government will have their perspective, their responsibilities, but to us, the average citizen in Trinidad and Tobago, with the revocation of this gas license, because there's a company, I think it's EOG, and I don't want anybody coming after Tobago Updates or me. I think that's formerly Enron, right? If I can be corrected. And they would have been given a license, I think, earlier this year to explore fields. And then I think there's a round of bidding that started in February. So activity is taking place. You know, should we be too concerned about this revocation while other things are in the pipeline?
We should be concerned that what if it's revoked, it's revoked.
Right.
What we have to do is ban we waste and decide we're heading down a different road. I've given you a broad picture of what that road should be if you look at the evidence. The citizens are responsible. They should hold to account the incumbents in Trinidad and the incumbents in Tobago, because if we had time, I could show you the economy of Tobago collapsed under Farley. So all the incumbents should be held to account for poor performance. And the citizens have to work out where we go from here. They can't sit back and hold the head and ball. It's their country, they own the country, and they're responsible for it.
Mm-hmm. And what advice would you give to us? Because you see, so much is happening on the international front with I mentioned it earlier, what seems to be trade wars, the U.S. putting tariffs on countries retaliating. I mean, I can't have you here and not have you comment or give advice to us, because I don't think some of us have really studied this or paid attention and understand how it can impact us, the small man, the individual, when it comes to consumerism and making purchases in the near future.
Well, the critical point to observe for Tobagonians is that if we pivot towards an industrialized tourism, there is no country in the world that could use tariffs to block your development. You can't put tariffs on the tourism product on our side. You can't, when visitors come here to buy, whether they come to go to school or they come in to buy financial services, the Trump can't put a tariff on that. It is impossible to put a tariff on the sale of the professional services. Unless you are holding to ransom every American who comes to Trinidad and Tobago and buys their services, when they're going back home, you put the tariff on them. Then it would be transparent that you're just oppressing American citizens. So I don't think if we go down the right road, we would be in any need of worry about what the Americans or anybody else is doing with respect to tariffs. The long story for Trinidad and Tobago, both Trinidad and Tobago, is that we have to change our model. The citizens have to demand a change in the model. In the case of Tobago, a change from a government economy and a bogus tourism economy towards a real industrialized economy. And in the case of Trinidad, a change away from the oil and gas and consumer manufacturers economy towards a professional services economy. And that's where we will make our way in the future. If we don't head down that road, we'll have to worry all the time about Dragon Deal.
Right. Thank you so much for spending part of your morning with us, Dr. James. It has been a pleasure. I must say I also learned, because it's one of the areas I'm following, but sometimes all the technical jargon and everything just happening. So I appreciate you spending time with us this morning, and I trust our viewers have paid attention as well, because I think sometimes when these things happen, it becomes such a political issue that we miss a lot of the facts and the information. So thank you again, viewers. It has been a pleasure.
I checked your speakers for you, because we have a lot of evidence. So you're going good.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes. So viewers, thank you so much for spending time with us and continuing your Friday morning right here on Tobago Updates Television by viewing GMT, and of course our morning show earlier with Adana and Akinlabi. It is Friday, the start of the weekend. I always encourage us, yes, be your brother's keeper. Let's look out for each other and have a very safe one. And we'll be back right here Monday. Of course, over the weekend, whatever is happening, Tobago Updates will keep you informed, whether it's by our social media pages. Just follow us. Make sure, remember, that's so important, so that you can keep abreast of what's happening right here on this beautiful island of Tobago. So stay safe, and to see you Monday morning right here when we continue and we rejoin our host for the morning show.